everybody. Welcome to another episode of Creativity with your host, Linda. And today, I have a very beautiful girl in the house, an amazing person. And I'm not just capping, she's actually a very amazing person. One of our best, is it one of our best or the best chefs we have in Nigeria today? Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Hilda Baci.
Not me clapping for myself, but yes, yay me.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's so good to be here.
It's so good to have you. I'm so happy we finally get to
Yes,
chat.
it's been a long time
It's been a while coming, yeah. So Hilda, how has it been? You look so good.
You look very beautiful, I must say.
Thank you. You too. You're shining.
Oh my God. We thank God is God.
I know. So how far? How has it been? How is life?
Life is good.
I know,
Life
right?
is good. I would say life is good. I'm so grateful to God to be here, to have, had this many experiences at this age. Yeah, I'm very blessed.
Yeah, you're very blessed. It's very important to mention at this age because a lot of people would have been hoping that they would get to where you are at this age, but they've not been able to achieve. But nevertheless, everybody has their own time.
Yeah,
everybody has their own time. Yeah. So I think we should take it back a bit. Let's get to know a bit of your story, a bit of your childhood. Not too much.
Okay, so that sounds like therapy. Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think a lot of people know this, but for those that don't know, I'm the first girl, second born of 7 kids. I always say technically we're 5, but the last borns are triplets, so that's why I was 7. I pretty much grew up watching my mom cook. Like, I remember very well how she started her food business. She was doing her IT in Ministry of Defense in Abuja, and she had just actually come into Abuja because I was born in Calabar, so we're living in Calabar. And she started bringing food to work, and a lot of people, like some of her colleagues, would taste her food and like, oh, it's very nice. So they'll ask her, please bring extra for me tomorrow and all. And as the demands became more, she said, maybe I can start selling this thing. So I actually remember waking up early in the morning, earlier than normal, because I saw my mom, they were cooking in the kitchen and packing some food and putting it in a cooler. So I think she started from doing 20 plates. So first day, 20 plates finished. She kept doing 20 plates, and she increased to 30. Then she had to increase to 50 because it was finished. So she decided that she needs to get those umbrellas. Back then they sell recharge cards.
Yeah.
So she had to get those umbrellas, just downstairs across the road from Ministry of Defense to keep a girl there so she could make more meals. And gradually she was rounding up her eyes. She said, instead of just jollof rice, maybe I can add stew and I can add egusi soup. So she got a small batcher. There was this field opposite Ministry of Defense. It was a parking lot, and there were other vendors there, and that's pretty much what gave birth to my mother's business. And we're in that trampoline, place, environmental would come and demolish it.
Oh my
I remember when I come back from school, I'll see she managed to buy a small car, so I'll see all the things in the car, so I know that they've demolished the place and all. But she just pretty much forged ahead. I remember her now getting a garden space. We moved from my uncle's house because we're staying with my uncle. We moved to, our own place, and that was kind of how. So I watched her pretty much train us, through that. Now, that did not mean that I wanted to become a chef or I wanted to go into cooking. For me, I was just I started out wanting to be a lawyer, but I was also such an entertaining child. So I used to do, I was good at mimicking people and dancing. I was, in the social scene in primary school and secondary school. And I think gradually I just imagined that, I was going to be in show business. I was going to be a presenter, an actor, and all. So that was kind of where my head was at. I was not necessarily thinking cooking. I don't even think I necessarily liked cooking when I was still in my primary school. I mean, I did it, but it was not something that I'd say I liked or I enjoyed doing. I picked up my love for it as time went on.
I'm just curious. You didn't mention your dad in the whole story.
I mean, my dad, he was there, but because we're living in, we had to move. I'd say like looking for greener pastures. We moved from Calabar to Abuja, so my dad was still
Oh,
like working in
in
Calabar.
Calabar.
So we
Oh,
moved with my mom. So what would happen was in December we would go back home for like Christmas, and then yeah, I'll get to like see my dad. Then once in a pink year, he would come around to Abuja to spend time with us as well. So yeah, he was
okay.
definitely there, but the dynamics of like our family units meant I was dealing with my mom a lot more because
More.
that was like my immediate caregiver because that was my like that was person we were living with and all. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So when did the whole chef thing start?
Um.
When did you feel like, oh, I think I need to be a chef?
So it's a bit of a funny journey. When I was in uni, I cooked really well. And I remember I used to cook for like in Madonna University, I used to have all this end of year thing when people are graduating. So I did cook for some of those like organizations in my
Okay,
school. I used
okay.
to cook for some girls to give their boyfriends and things like that. And I used to cook for my friends as well.
Yeah.
So, and then my brother had come up with this very brilliant idea when I was in my 300 level.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, Hilda, what if, imagine if you could subscribe for your food, like for your lunch, like you were subscribing for like your cable TV.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, how so? So he thought of this idea where, oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So he came up with this idea where we would go to different companies and would get them to pay us a certain amount of money for a month and would deliver lunch to them from Monday to Friday.
That was in your university days.
Yeah, so we started that, I think, in my 300 level second semester or in my 400. I think I was in my 400 level at this time when we started. So we did some legwork, went to Ajib Oil, went to like some banks, and we spoke to like the staff there. At the time, the price was 15,000 naira. So it was called my food delivery service. It wasn't My Food by Hilda. And we would just, would offer them, oh, if you pay us 15K, we would have a set menu, we'll send it to you, and then you pick what you want every day, and we would deliver to you every day for an entire month. So as opposed to spending maybe 2K to 2.5 on your lunch, we're spending 750 naira. So what that did for us was it gave us a base because we did not necessarily have, will I call it, a big budget to start the business.
Yeah.
So with getting money in advance from people, we kind of had a cushion.
So
to
you guys
start
just
with.
went there and you were able to convince them.
Yeah, we're able to. I think we started
Without
with about
any-
7 or 8 customers. My mommy was our first subscriber, so we called them
Okay.
subscribers.
Yeah.
So we had about maybe 7 or 8 people, and then the numbers just kept increasing. And then as time went on, what had happened was we now started increasing the number of meals that we were making because sometimes when I go to Ajib to deliver, somebody will ask me, fine girl, what do you have today? And I'll say, we have coconut rice. So if I have like 2 extras, I get to sell that as well. So
Yeah.
we now started making more meals because people were now buying on the go.
spot.
Yeah. So some people didn't want to have to commit to the subscription, but they wanted to be able to buy food from us as well. But now having those subscribers allowed us entry into those work premises, which allowed us to be able to sell. I remember we had this client, her name was Hamza, and she was so consistent with us. I remember, I think our very first like home service, like liter bowl, she was the one that gave it to us as well.
Wow.
So they were very supportive because I think it was just nice to see like 2 young kids like
Yes.
trying to
This brother
do
you're talking
something.
about, is it Gillian?
Yes, it's Gilbert.
Gilbert, yeah.
Yes. So we did that. Then Gilbert had to do some work. I had to do my NYSC. So we had other things that we were sort of focusing on, and we couldn't pay as much attention to the business. Now the business had been running for about 2 years, but we had to put it on hold and go about like our like he
Life.
wanted to, I think he wanted to go into writing, and then he had gotten this job in tech as well. Then I was still like chasing my TV presenter dream. I remember coming to Lagos for auditions and auditions and auditions until I eventually got a job. And that job was with Rave TV. I was hosting would I call it the cooking segment of a breakfast show called Morning Rave. And I liked it because it allowed me to fuse my two, will I call it,
Passion.
two things I was really good
Yeah.
at, which was presenting and at the same time cooking. So I was doing that, and along those lines, because again, the job, it was like a part-time job. Job didn't really pay well, but it gave me accommodation because I didn't have accommodation.
In Lagos,
Yes,
right?
in Lagos. So I was staying at the company's like we like call it residential house,
Yeah.
and I got this second job that I was pretty much catering the lunch division of a breakfast company called Breakfast King at the time. So we got this contract to deliver lunch to an insurance company. It's called Linkage Assurance, and I think we're feeding about 150 people every day. So my job was pretty much to cook the food that was going out. So I was cooking the food, basically going to the market, doing purchases and all that as well. So I did that for about 9 months. So I was basically juggling the two jobs, doing the Rave TV one and then doing this other one, and I was still chasing like my acting dream. So I'll do a few cameos here and there. I was just doing different things. Like I was cooking here, presenting here, going for more auditions. And then I had now gotten the opportunity. So working in Breakfast King did allow me to also like practice my craft, like with cooking, especially for cooking for a large number of
Audience,
people. So I
yeah.
did that a lot. I remember there was this time, that was the first time I had cooked for 24 hours at a stretch, and that was kind of around the time when I was also thinking about doing the Guinness World Record. So I used that job to test myself.
yourself,
So we had this
yeah.
we had this job to cook for, I think, to produce about 2,500 meals, and we were to deliver at like 6 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. in the morning. So it meant, and we still had like our normal daily production. So it meant that we had to be working from the day before and like into the next day, and I finished that and I still had to do like my normal like job. So it was very hectic because I'll go to bed at 3 a.m., at 11 p.m. sometimes, and wake up at 3 a.m. to start making the meal that was going to go out. Then I would come to Lekki because we're in Surulere, so I'd come to Lekki and I would serve the food. So we had like a buffet type setting.
Yeah.
So I'd serve the food to the staff members, then pack up, go back to Surulere. Then on Thursdays, which was my segment, I would go to Ilupeju in the morning to do my set, then come back to finish up and come. So, but while I did that, I got the opportunity to now have my own cooking show on DSTV. It was on a channel called Pop Central.
Yeah.
So I had this show called Dine on a Budget. Now the idea for the show was I wanted to host, different guests and I would treat them to a really nice dining experience. So I had a mixologist that would make really nice cocktails and I would make the meal. So they'll have like their appetizers, main course, dessert, like everything. And then we'll just have conversation. So it was honestly like you were gisting with your friend over food. And, the show did really well. I did it for almost 2 years. And it was along that time I worked with a retail company, like a fashion retail company, for like another 9 months. In between that, I was still going for movie auditions.
Wow.
And, I got to do like a supporting lead role in this movie that was, later nominated for AMVCA. It's called
Really?
Dream Chaser. Yeah, so my brother had gone to the Multi-Choice Talent Factory.
Okay.
So it was this initiative by MultiChoice that picked a few creatives. So people were like submitted things. They went for an interview and then they picked maybe like 2 people from each country. So he happened to be one of the
them.
people that were picked, and that was how he came to Lagos. And they had a final year project, which was that film, and I auditioned for the film and I got the role.
Wow.
So I did that simultaneously while doing the doing my work in retail and also still doing my show. But I had gone through, a bit of a challenging time, and I had to resign from the retail company.
Oh.
And that was kind of what prompted me. So I remember having a conversation with my brother, and my friend Evelyn used to always tell me that, I feel like this food thing, like this is like your thing. I had dealt with that because my ability to cook and cook good food always preceded me. So I'd never really be in a conversation where I would have to tell someone I know how to cook. But some way, somehow, it would just,
Yeah, because you're feeding over 1,500 people and
yeah,
getting
so
jobs without adverts.
exactly, yeah. So I wasn't
That's-
doing any adverts and things. So my friend
Yeah.
Evelyn would tell her friends that Hilda cooks really well. I was living with Evelyn at the time because
Yeah.
obviously when I left Brave TV, when I wasn't at Brave TV, and I didn't have a place to stay, so I was staying with Evelyn at this time, and she would tell me that let me cook for her friends, so they would give me like jobs. I didn't have an Instagram page. I didn't have a brand name. Literally I didn't have anything, but I was still getting like small money from cooking for people here and there. And when I started working in fashion and retail, I met another friend called Beverly, and because I didn't have a kitchen again. So Beverly used to tell her friends, Hilda can cook for you. She's really good. Her food is great. It's amazing. And, she would recommend me to her friends, and I would go to their house to cook for them. So I would only go to people that she recommended because of safety, and I would go to their house to cook. Maybe they'll tell me what they want. I'll go to the market, buy like what they need, and I'll make the meal, pack it, give them some, and so that was how I was getting referrals, just little by little. And as time went on, my brother said, Hilda, I think you should focus on this. And I'm like, oh, what are we going to call it? He's like, my food is there. I'm like, okay. I think at the time we had like 7,000 followers or something on Instagram, or maybe 10K or something like that. No, I don't even think it was, or maybe like 7K. And I was like, maybe I need to attach, because again, quite a number of celebrities had come on my show. So I'm like, some of these people know me, so maybe I need to attach my name to it, so that somebody might just say, is that girl that does that show? So they will buy from me. So that was how we went from my food to my food by Hilda. And it was, I think that was in 2020 or so. So
that was when you opened the restaurant?
2019. So, so that was when like my food by Hilda, that's when I opened the page. And then I had been making videos of like meals I would make at home. So at the time, my house didn't have a kitchen, but I had like a small space. It was a BQ. So I beautified it. I turned it into a nice kitchen. I bought some camp gas here and there.
Yeah.
And I just started posting the meals I used to make for like my friends and my brother, like just meals I would make at home, and I started posting that. So when I started, it was mostly like my friends on WhatsApp that would order and refer me to people. So I had this friend, the owner of Breakfast King at the time. His name is Bioye. So his sister-in-law and all, they have kids. So they used to order from me and things like that. So my friends were really helpful in like referring me. Like Beverly would refer me, Evelyn would refer me, and that was how we started. And I kept posting. Then I noticed that when I post videos, people respond to the videos more, because it can't be what I ordered versus what I got with a video, because like you can't really edit what the food looks like. You can't edit the consistency of the rice or the soup. So I noticed that my videos got me more traction online. So I kept posting more videos, and I kept at it, and the orders kept coming. So every other day I had orders coming. And I remember I had this friend that was pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
And she I had invited her on my show when I had my show running.
Okay.
Because I bought hair from her, and then I invited her on my show when I had my show running. And I didn't know she was pregnant, but I have a thing for pregnant women. Like I have a soft spot for pregnant women. So I bumped into her and her husband on a random day, I think at Fresh County or something. And she had said, that she's still thinking about the rice that she ate on my show that day. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll make it for you. So at this time, as much as I'd been on Instagram, I didn't know anything about influencing and all adverts and all. So I honestly was just sending the food to her because she was pregnant, and I like pregnant women. So I just made a really nice meal. Aww. And I was so happy with my packaging, because I had just done a new, I did like this paper bag with my food by Hilda. So I was so excited about it. I just started the business like proper. Yeah. So I sent it to her, and on that day, I just remembered that my phone kept buzzing. And then I opened my phone, and like a lot of people are trying to order from me. Come to find out that she was eating the food on her Instagram, and she was just talking about saying, "Oh my God, this food is so
Oh my
good and it's so
gosh.
delicious." Like she
Yeah.
really liked it, and it was based off of that. I think I got maybe like 2,000 followers from that, from that post, and that sort of launched. I would say me getting more orders from Instagram, because I was getting orders, but not as much
More-
as after that time.
Yeah.
And there's something I always tell my students: there's one thing to get exposure, and it's another thing to maintain that clientele. So you can do adverts, and it would get people to come and purchase from you, but the quality of your product is what is going to keep those
them
customers
coming.
and get you more customers. So I think for me, it was very important that I made sure that the quality of what was what they had seen was the same with what they were getting. So we don't have a
Yeah.
case of what I ordered versus what
What
I
I
got.
got, yeah.
So what I did was I was true to what I was capable of producing daily, which meant that I had a limit to how much I could produce, because it was just me and my housekeeper. I didn't have anybody
Yeah.
else to help me.
Yeah.
So once I take that order and I've gotten to that limit, if a customer had come to order, I would say, "I'm so sorry, please, if you can order again tomorrow, because I want to be able to give you the best quality, and it's just me. So I can't do that because I've taken too many orders as is." So I was very honest with my clients, and then they just knew that Hilda might not be able to give you the food today, but when she brings it to you, it's going to be really good,
nice.
And
That's something everybody should
that
learn
kind of
from.
launch. I'll say that kind of launched the food business. That's kind of how. So I said a bit of a up and down story.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you before, like, were you ambitious as a child? But I don't need to ask that anymore.
Oh, I
because
was.
I can see you're doing
Yes.
so many things at the same time. But at the same time, I also noticed that you also wanted to be out there.
Yes.
You
Yes.
wanted that entertainment.
Yeah, I
lifestyle
wanted. Yes,
thing.
I did. But I would say that at the time it was a bit of a naive dream, because in that position that I was when I was much younger, I did not understand what it was to be given this kind of platform. And I say this kind of platform because I would say, a lot of people are famous, but then you're famous for different things. Now, they would say, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Of course.
So, for me, I also feel like I blew up at a time when I had a vision for myself and for my brand and for my business. And at that time, I'll just say that was, God's timing, which is why it hadn't happened in the many years that I was trying and trying and trying.
It happened at the right time.
It happened at the right time.
Okay, but it was planned also, right?
Yes, of course. I had to.
Yes.
Sometimes these things happen. Some people just get it on a platter. Some people are just graceful and fortunate. Now, other people may have to walk a certain path. And that path is laced with grace and laced with lessons. And as much as I would say it was very much intentional, I was very intentional about every single thing that I have done. I would also say that without God's grace, it would not have been as great as it is, because I would always say that is what makes the difference. Now, a lot of us are blessed with, wisdom and knowledge and, the ability to think up ideas, but then it's one thing to think up an idea, it's another thing to execute it perfectly. It's another thing for that idea that you have executed perfectly, to metamorphose into something bigger than you expect it to be. And without the hand of God in that, all the efforts that you're making might just go to waste.
Yeah. So why did you even think about Guinness World Record? There are a lot of ideas you could have come up with. Why that particular one?
I to be honest, I don't even know. I had just thought about it on a random day with my brother, because I was very obsessed with Guinness World. I liked watching it.
So why.
It was just a random thought of.
That's why.
Imagine if somebody was cooking. Me and my brother, we always come up with like ideas, and we bounce it back and forth of each other. And I was like, imagine if somebody cooks for a very long time. So at the time, I didn't even know that there was a cooking record. Then I did some research, and then I find out that there's a cooking record. Maybe this was like in 2017 or 2016 or something. I can't remember the date. And I'm like, I think at the time maybe there was a rule or something like, I just remember seeing on the site, like, I would have to wait for a while or something. But
Before
what
you
I
could
do remember is every place I had worked, I had shared this dream with my boss. Do you get? So I remember when I worked in Pop Central, I remember telling the owner of Pop Central that I have this idea. But I'm like, imagine if I did it then. I couldn't have afford. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able
yes.
to afford it.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing. I did not have my business at that time. So as much as I had goals and dreams and aspirations, I didn't have a clear-cut plan. You know, so at the time when I felt like now is the time to do this.
So you purposely waited until you were ready, right?
Yes, I waited.
Yes, because
I
I
waited.
know
I
that
was honest with what I had with me and what I was capable of doing. And I'm not necessarily somebody that likes to ask for favors. You know, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing,
I can
but
understand.
I just don't like putting people in an uncomfortable situation where they have to say no to me or they don't know how to say no to me. And I genuinely just don't like it because I didn't see my mother doing it growing up, you know, and things like that. So for me, I wasn't ready to now be asking for favors. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'll save up for it. And, you know.
So that means you did some research and you knew it was going to be expensive
Oh, yes,
to execute.
I knew it was going to be expensive to execute. And I also knew that at the scale that I wanted to do it.
That's another thing because a lot of people be like, I want to do Guinness World Record. Let's do it now. Let's just start.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I believe in planning.
Exactly.
I'm a big planner. I'm such a
Exactly.
planner. And I'll say one good thing about me is I am very good at delegating. You know, so as much as I'm very hands-on, I also know when I need to let somebody take the reins or I need to, you know, just give out responsibilities so that we can be as productive as possible. Yes. So I would say for me, it was also drawing a map of what it was that we wanted to do, what it meant, how powerful it was, and just believing in that dream and holding on to it. And then I'd pray to God to just put the right people on my path. So every single person that ended up working on the cookathon project, I would say was very, like, it was a very divine, like, coming together. That's how we met, you know.
Yes.
So for me, it was, and I mean, my head of production, Noe, I had met her 2 years prior, you know, as a result of teaching one of my cooking classes. Yes. So I'm like, and I cannot imagine doing the cookathon without her. I can't imagine doing the cookathon without every single person that was on the team. So if I hadn't met them, I'm like, you know, like.
But you know, that's the funny thing, and that's one thing I want people to learn from, right? You're talking about head of production now. When I saw your team, I saw a PR person.
Oh, yes. We had two, actually.
You understand what I'm saying? I saw some other people that are into strategy, a lot of segments put together to host that thing. So that means that you did put in a lot of work and a lot of planning. And people had done this thing before you.
Yeah.
They didn't do it this way.
I mean, I can't speak for the people that had done it before me because, again, I wasn't on their team. I didn't have the opportunity to interview them and speak to them and know, okay, how did you do it? What did you do? What didn't you do differently? The only person I had access to speak to was Jason. And Jason had gotten the record and he had done it once before and he wasn't successful at it.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I'm so grateful to him because he was very forthcoming with information. And that's another thing. The records we both went for are so different.
Yeah.
His was dancing, mine was cooking. So, and with Guinness World Record, the rules are different. They apply differently. You know, for us, we had a 30-something page evidence guideline that every single person on the team had to study like a Bible to make sure that, you know, we didn't miss anything, like we didn't miss any information. But, you know, I would always say that, you know how I say start first? As much as I say start first, it's important that you plan.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you have to be very understanding of what it is that you're doing and how powerful it is, like what you're trying to do, you know, how impactful it can be for you and for the people around you. So I remember when we had one of the meetings, you know, for the cookathon, one of like our strategy sessions, Noah had said, I don't know about you people, but me, I'm going to put this thing on my CV. Like, this thing is going to be so big that it
Because
would be
we are-
something that you want to put on your CV.
Amazing.
And the entire team had an understanding of that. So there was a level of excellence that they put into every aspect of, like for me, now I wish we actually put out a lot more content when we were in the planning
stage,
process,
like
in the beginning stage.
Yeah.
But for me I was also scared of making too much noise, because as much as I wanted to make noise to get people to come out, I also was so scared, because Jason had told me that the first time that he went for the record, he made so much noise. He had so many sponsors, and he, it didn't come through.
Yeah, it didn't come through.
And so the second time he was a bit more careful to
Okay.
reduce the pressure. And then so I'm like, oh my God, what if? So, and just knowing that so many people put blood, sweat, and tears into it, it's like, you can't fail, man, because this is not just for you now. Like, this is for, everybody else. But it's a lot of work, but it is work that I'm very happy to do.
So, but what, you weren't sure that you were going to blow, right?
No, I wasn't sure.
You weren't sure. You just put in your best and hope for the...
I think for me, one of the major things was I wanted to get that record. Like, I wanted to hold that plaque. That plaque, I wanted it. Because a lot of people had done this thing and they got so much PR, but didn't get the plaque.
The plaque,
I'm like, I don't want that. I want that plaque. I want to do this and I want to finish at it, which is why I did it standing. Because when I did all the research I did for the cookathon, all the videos I had seen, I didn't see her sitting down. So it was only after the cookathon that I found a video on Twitter that she was sitting. So when they said, oh, Hilda, I think Jason had even said to me, I think you can sit. But I'm like, the last thing we want is to have spent all this money, invested all this time and effort, and we would lose this record because I sat down. So let's do it standing. No matter how hard it is, let's just, do it standing. I mean, there were so many times I wanted to give up. But Gilbert had said something to me on the first day when I was like, I'm tired. I don't think I can do this, because I was so anxious and my hands were shaking. And he said, Hilda, just keep doing it until you can't do it anymore. Like, until your hands, until it becomes physically impossible
to do.
For you to keep going. And ever since he made that statement to me, I applied that to every aspect of my life. So sometimes, I was telling my assistant this morning that I was praying this morning and I was like, thank you for perspective. Sometimes one of the things that we need is perspective to be able to move ahead from whatever situation we find ourselves.
Yeah.
So even now when, the days are hard and it's difficult and it's hectic, and sometimes you're wishing, what, I wouldn't have had to deal with all this, but it's like, you asked for this, you prayed for this.
Prayed for it.
So I remember what Gilbert said to me, I would just keep doing what I can until it becomes physically impossible for me to keep going, So, yeah.
So it was a big blessing, though. So
it was a big blessing.
Everything came together, the hard work. I remember I was there on the last day now. It was crazy.
Oh, my God.
And I wanted to ask, okay, so the celebrities were not even planned. They all showed up just to support you.
Funny thing is, we had even we had done in our, we had this document, like a rollout file, like how we're going to work. We did have like a few people that were supposed to come. I had envisioned, I want us to have performances, I want this, I want that, but we had really overstretched the budget and we couldn't afford. I remember coming out of the bank on one day when I went to do a payment for, I think it was a balance payment for set design or something, and I was taking out money from the restaurant's funds, and I think that was the third time I was making like that kind of withdrawal or transfer. Yeah. And I remember calling my mom and I was bawling my eyes out, crying, because I'm like, Mommy, I feel like this thing is going to bankrupt me. And I was so scared because I'm like, when other people do shows, they're selling tables, they're selling tickets.
Yeah, you're doing
I'm
it for
literally
free.
saying I want to have a 4-day long party that people don't have to spend any money. So how do I get, basically, how do I make money from this? So for me, it's like, what happens? And I had and that's another thing. I would always say, just think about the worst case scenario. And I'm like, we need a working capital for the restaurant. So I need to make sure that we have our working capital come with me. So there was a set amount of money that we couldn't spend. So we can cover salaries for a couple months. We can cover expenses to keep, producing meals for the customers. So I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, the business can still run. So if this is a flop, I still
have your business.
I still have my business. And and for me it was like, let's create a very memorable experience. Let's create a really good experience. And then I went all out for it. Now sometimes that's a big risk. It's a big risk.
Yes.
But I'm a risk taker. And sometimes I feel like to grasp at the big things, you have to make big sacrifices, and you have to make big risks, and you have to jump like very, very wide, very wide gutters. You think you'll fall, but God has you. God has you.
All right, so what would you say is the biggest challenge you faced so far, especially during the Guinness World Record?
I'm trying to think about it, so I answered this as honestly as possible. When the record had started, when the attempt had started, it was just getting through, getting by. Just getting it done, finished. And for me, I wanted to do it while still putting out really good food. Like great tasting, great looking meals. I didn't want to make no dead looking thing. So there was that. I think for the prep process, like planning phase, I really thought that it was such a good idea that a lot of brands would jump on it. But to my surprise, they weren't as enthused as I had hoped that they would be.
Did you reach out to a lot of them?
Oh yeah, we did. We did reach out to a lot of brands, But I mean, I understand. I also sort of understood that a lot of people have done this before, and it may not have panned out the way
they wanted.
In truth, nobody would have expected it to become such a global sensation. I mean, I don't think anybody would have had that foresight, because even with us that we were putting everything into it, I did have the vision that it was going to be big, but I also didn't see that it was going to be that big. So it took me by surprise, but I'll say positive surprise. So there was that. So just getting brands on board, getting more funding and all. So that was one thing. If just based on the Guinness World Record, I would say it's that. Then, obviously, afterwards, just putting the evidence together was another hassle, because we needed to be very meticulous with it. Big shout out to Choma. She headed that team that put the evidence together, and everybody on the team puts in the work to make sure.
There were a lot, right? I remember.
Yeah, that big team. I think almost 100 people.
Wow.
Almost 100 people. It was a very large team of people, and I think to pull off something like that, you have to you have to have a lot of people on board, because even with Guinness, they require certain evidences and witnesses, and and so getting those people as well. So but the team grew as time went on. I remember when we started, it was just about 4 of us or 5 of us on the group. Then we had an alpha team group, which was like the pioneer group, and then we had, so it was me, it was Noah, it was Choma, it was Bisola, it was Shay, it was Nene from Nene from Blanche, Shay from Eggcorn, Bisola, that was our set art director and production head as well. Then there was Noah, there was myself, and there was Evelyn as well. So that was the core. That was like the alpha team. Then we transitioned into getting more people from the different agencies on board before we went on to getting our culinary director, that was Chef Gibbs. We got Renty Chef, that was Bosse, the head of Renty Chef as well. So the team just gradually grew as the time for it came. As the time came, the team just kept expanding and expanding.
I'm very, very glad you're explaining all of these things, because they say good food na money kill 'em.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with work. It's the same thing with advertising. It's the same thing with campaign. You need to put in the work. Get the right people on board if you want something great out of it. So I'm sure if you had done this thing, and even if you had not won, you would have been like, but
Oh
I
yeah,
did
I
my
still would, yes,
best.
I still would have,
Yes,
I would
brand
have
wise,
known that. Oh yeah, we did a
you did a
fine job,
fantastic job.
you know. But
Yes.
there's just that feeling of, and for me, I guess maybe because I had really wanted to get the record.
So it was that for
Yeah,
you.
it was that for me. So even when we were doing all our celebratory, when they say, "Oh, Guinness World Record holder," I'll be like, no one else, think no one else. So for me, because I don't know, I have this thing in my head where I don't want to live a lie. It's so important to me that I am, I'm not living a lie. So for me was, if when people say that, I know I have done it, but the reason why I'm doing it is like I still want this, to be certified
Satisfied.
that I have done
Yeah.
it. So I guess that was it for me. But yeah,
So how has life been after? Were you prepared for what happened after the Guinness World Record?
to an extent, yes, because I had, you know, I had promised myself a few things.
Okay.
I told myself that fame wasn't going to change me.
Mm.
So that was always at the back of my mind. And I already had plans, so many plans, which meant that there was not we didn't have a downtime.
Yeah, immediately after you
Yeah, we
just
didn't have a
started.
downtime
Yeah.
because right after, I mean, I had Viva
Yeah.
to respond to. I had, the other brands that I represent, and I had to. For me, it was like they have so much expectation of you, and there is this idea that a woman that looks like me doesn't have much to offer, as opposed to just her beauty and her looks and her physique. And I know that that's not the case. So, consciously or subconsciously, I'm like, I need to put in the work. I need to keep doing this. I need to, you know, it would be a slap on the hard work that I have put in all these years and even for this time to not keep up the momentum. I think that was what it was for me. So, right after I'm just getting into it, like we have more work to do. And I guess for me, there was never really a time I basked in the euphoria of like,
Oh, I did
I
it.
did this. For me, there was a time I was hating on everybody because I'm like, you guys got to experience it. Like, it would have been nice to not be the one in the box, just be
Yeah.
outside, because it just felt like such a vibe outside, and all. So there was never really a time I started and said, oh, Guinness World. I don't think there's a video where I'm like Guinness World Record holder. So, because for me, Pastor Jerry had said this in one sermon where he's like, you need to forget about the applause. Because if you pay too much attention to the applause, you're focusing on that, and the opportunity is passing you by.
Yeah.
So there's not a time, like, you've done it, keep it pushing. I think it was maybe like a year after, or like, yeah, where I settled in and I'm like, yeah, this was such a remarkable thing, and I did it, and it's a nice thing to know that I did something this great in my life. But at the time, it was just, I've done it. We have to just keep on moving, because the opportunities are not going to always be there, for me. And it's been a very interesting time since the cookathon. And I'd say I had such a great professional year, but my emotionally it was hectic. It was a bit of a hectic year as well for me, just cause when you're thrown into the lights,
Yeah.
people are, and I understand, because I also know that when you are hoping for certain breakthroughs in life, and then you probably see someone that is maybe the same age as you or younger than you, and you're like, oh, this person is doing so well. Sometimes, to be able to deal with how your life is, you need to find something negative to hold on to, because it makes it easier for you to get
Cope.
by the day. It makes it easier for you to cope. So, you just get that, what, these people, is like, I said it in my class one time, where if I sell food and you sell food, and you haven't made ₦1,000,000 before, and we're selling the same food, and I tell you I've made ₦1,000,000, to be able to deal with the fact that you haven't made £1,000,000 because you can't see it possible, you say, no, there's no way. Maybe she's doing jazz or something. Like, you have to find something, or you
An
have to find a
explanation.
cushion. And that's kind of how, like, sometimes some people's brain, works. So it was a bit hectic because I also understood that there was a lot of expectation of me, not just from the general public, but from my immediate friends and family members as well. Obviously, your friends, they love you, but they're sort of like waiting, like, is she going to change, Is she, I remember one time, I remember speaking to a friend of mine, and she had said, I didn't want to call you because but you and I know that if I wasn't like the Hilda Baci of today, you would have called me. So why won't you call me? And I understood that I have to make the extra effort to let my friends know that it's still the same, like it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it would be nice if they did that for me as well. So that's exactly what I did. So even with my friends, even with my relationship, it's like I know that a lot is expected of me now. So I have to be more vocal. I have to be more expressive. I have to be, more upfront. I would say even more honest to a fault, more forthcoming with information, because, things just go flying around the place, and you just want to focus on like who you are at the end of the day, because if you're not, you will be drowned in the noise. So for me, it was very important that I always ask myself, like, I have to be a decent human being, So if I know that if I'm a decent human being, I'm treating the people around me well, not just my friends, but even strangers.
Yeah.
And that's just so important to me. I have to be a good daughter to my mom. I believe that I'm living my mother's answered prayers, which means that my mother would take her time to pray for me because she believes that when God blesses me, he has blessed her by extension.
Yeah.
So she might spend an hour praying for me and another 5 minutes praying for herself. So it means that once the blessing comes, I need to keep my mother happy. I need to make sure my siblings are doing well. I need to make sure that I am doing what is expected of me. Even if it is not expected of me, I have to show up for them. So just trying to navigate all that, and also navigating the responsibilities that come. And then there was also like a phase of fear. I remember having this conversation with Pastor Bolaji where I'm like, I'm so scared to fail. You know how you feel like, oh my God, like, I feel like God wants to change my family's story, and he's starting with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, to make sure that, I don't make a mess of this opportunity that has been given to me. And I'm so scared, because it's like, it almost feels like sometimes it's like if God is around the corner, it means the devil is also just hanging around somewhere.
Yeah.
And you need to intensify your belief and your faith and your prayer just to make sure that the devil doesn't get his way in. So there was a lot of fear at that time as well. It's like, I'm so scared of failing. And my mom, Pastor Bolaji, had said to me, God didn't bring you this far to fail. He has said it, that his grace is sufficient for you. So I had to hold on to that word at every point in time, even when it is hectic, even when it is stressful, even when it feels like I'm in over my head. I'll say to myself, God did not bring me this far to watch me fail. He loves my mother, so he's not going to make her cry. So if not for anything, he will bless me because of my mother, you know. And it's just, and also just making sure that my mental health was right. So blocking out the noise, just whatever it takes to make sure that you are in the right frame of mind to be the right boss, to make sure that you're creating an environment that is conducive for your staff to work, an environment that is conducive for you to work, that is conducive for people to be around and all that. So
it's great. It seems you're handling it well, because I know it must not have been easy to just be thrown into the limelight just like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked you, were you prepared?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say nothing really prepares you.
Nothing prepares you for
Yeah,
it.
nothing really prepares you, especially when, when everyone is saying so many positive things, it's so nice. But when the negative things start to come, so you have to almost train yourself to not be overly impacted by both the
Those
positive
positive
and the negative.
I like how you explain, like you're trying to give reasons why trolls are trolls, and and it's for your own goods too, so that you can just look at them and say,
Yeah,
okay, I
you can just
understand.
understand that, you know what. And so I remember I was having a conversation with someone on a random day, and I think the person was asking me, oh, something had happened, like why didn't you post it or something. And I had said, because for me, I like my personal life just being personal,
Personal, yeah.
and I would rather you're just me for my work, because that's why I've put in this much effort and energy. I want you to know me for my work and know my work. I want my work to speak for me.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, sometimes not posting certain things makes it easier for other people to go by their day. So it's like and it sounds very abstract, but I can do without posting it, because I don't have to post it to enjoy it.
Yes.
I'm enjoying it in
You don't
real
need
time and in
validation
real
for all
life.
of that.
So for me is, if I don't put this out there, it might also make it easier for somebody to go about their day, because they're going about their day not feeling like they haven't achieved anything in life. So and it just makes it easier for me, because people can comment on something that they don't know. People cannot make whether positive or negative comments to things that they don't see. So me not putting too much information out there is also me protecting myself.
Yeah.
So there's that as well.
Great. I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot to learn from you about all of this, because it's not easy. And I really was looking forward to this, because I felt like, you know what, people need to know that it's not just about doing Guinness World Record.
It's not.
It's not just about saying, oh, I want to be a chef, and then you just start being a chef. No, you have to have passion. So that's why I wanted your whole story from beginning. You've been at it for a longest
for
time.
years.
You're actually a good cook. I've tasted your food. Yes, it's.
Did you hear that?
I remember now. There was a time when we were doing a shoot.
Yeah, I think it was a Viva commercial.
Yes,
it was such a good. It was
oh
such
my
a good
goodness!
shoot.
We even told you, like, oh, you don't need to finish cooking.
Yeah,
Hilda
they were
was
like, oh, you don't have to cook. I'm like, no,
no, I'll
we don't
cook.
use prop food on my sets. Like, I think that's a rule for me. Like, I don't like, I was saying it, I think it was Nelson I was saying it to yesterday, that maybe I need to find a food stylist or something else, food that do the props meal. But I'm like why? Like, why do I have to, like,
That day was nice, because you
You-
finished cooking, and then we shared the food to the entire crew.
Yes.
She did. It was not enough, and Hilda started cooking another one. In between doing her shoots, I was so impressed that day, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's still you. So it's not like you're just saying it.
Yeah.
I see it real
I
time.
always say cooking is therapeutic. You should try it. You
It's not for everybody.
I mean, it's not for everybody. Like, for me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do makeup. Like,
Exactly.
which is why people say, oh, like, I'm like, my dear, me, I can't do makeup to save. I can't do my own hair. Like, maybe I'm very good at doing ponytail, like packing my natural hair. Fantastic at it. But like, doing my own makeup is not my
not
cup
you,
of tea.
of
Like,
course.
I don't want to do my own makeup. I don't want to do my own hair. So that's okay. That's okay. So if you don't like to cook, that's fine as well.
But what's your favorite thing you like to cook?
Oh my God. I can't actually pick one thing. I can't pick one thing. It depends. So I would say that what I enjoy cooking now is kind of dependent on what my man likes to eat. Because I when he likes something, we might be making it a lot more. So, I just enjoy just making that. And the beautiful thing about making food and making recipes is, the more you do it, the more you perfect the art of it.
Yeah.
So if you're making the same thing every other day, by like the fifth day or even the third day, you may not even need to count or measure, even down to like baking and stuff.
Yes.
It's I don't know, it's something I enjoy doing. I really like it. But if I were to say a recipe that is very dear to my heart,
Yeah.
I would say it is my native rice and coconut rice recipe, because those are I would call them very original recipes. Like, I created those recipes.
Oh, I was going
like,
to go there.
I had tasted the coconut rice my mom used to make, like, when we were growing up. Coconut rice used to be my favorite food
Okay.
back then when I was growing up. And I tasted it and it was very nice, but I just felt like, oh, like this thing can be better. So I sort of rejigged the recipe. And this wasn't something I picked up on YouTube or I picked up on Instagram. I literally just thought about it. I tried one thing. I'm like, okay, this thing would be better if I do it this way. And that was how I came about, those two recipes. So those recipes, like, obviously I have other original recipes as well, but those two, because those two recipes kind of launched my business. Like, when I
Okay.
started my business, I was making that coconut rice and it was such a rave at the time. Like, everybody wanted it. Like, everybody would taste it and, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever tried. So yeah, those recipes are, so maybe that would be my favorite thing to cook.
Okay. I think I need to go and try it now. I
Yeah.
definitely need to try it. So now you're doing this cooking class.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the same thing you did with the Guinness World Record. Every day you make it bigger and bigger and bigger
Yes.
with car, and it's almost impossible for some people to believe that you're doing all of these things. So what's the vision behind the Hilda cooking class?
So I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
When I started teaching people how to cook, I had started from posting recipes on Instagram. And the reason why I started posting recipes was because I believe that if people saw the process with which I was using to cook, they will know how you can see how someone made a meal and you can say, that food is going to be sweet.
Yeah.
So I felt like if I post that, they would trust me more to buy from me.
Oh.
Now, I kept posting that, and then people started DMing me to ask, do you take classes? Do you teach? And I'm like, okay, a lot of people ask, I might as well, And I put out the information for my very first class. I remember then I said it was 50K. They were like, which kind of class is 50K? My brother and I came and slashed the price to 15K. I know, I think it was like 15 recipes or something.
Yeah.
And I had taught that class, and it went so well. The reviews from my students was so good that, like, their cooking really improved. They're so happy. They're going to tell their friends. I'm like, okay, so this is a thing. Now, mind you, I didn't make money from that first one because the cost of running the class and all. And I didn't see it as something I could make money from. For me, it was just, I like teaching people how to cook. It's very nice. Like when they try the recipe and they come back and they give me reviews. So I did a second class and I did a third class. So I had done this competition where it was like jollof competition some years back where they pitched me with another chef from another country, and we had like a face-off. We both made jollof rice, and I won. And to celebrate my win for that, I slashed the price of the class. I think it was maybe like 20K, and I brought it down to 15K or something like that. And a lot of people registered. And I think that was the first time I had gotten maybe like 200 students or something like that. And I remember then one of my biggest problems was I would teach a class and then the students would be coming back 4 months later to be asking me questions that I could have answered if only they practiced the recipe.
Oh.
So I started thinking about it. I'm like, there has to be a way I can get these people to practice these recipes as I am teaching it. And I prayed to God for wisdom. And one Sunday morning, it just came to me that, how about you incentivize students? So when I was in secondary school, they used to do this first 3 and last 3, and the first 3 always got like a prize. And I remember there was a time I said, I want them to call me on stage for that first 3. So I put in so much effort in doing like my test just so that I came up with at least one of the highest scores. The time that I was now going to come up as one of the highest scores, that's the time that our principal now said that they don't think it's nice, it's making the other students feel demoralized. My chest. Well, anyways, I remembered that, and I'm like, okay, maybe if I incentivize the students with gifts, it would prompt them to practice the recipe.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I think the first gift I said I was going to give out some pot sets, maybe like 100K or 200K, and I think an iPhone. So I'm like, but I need to buy these things beforehand so that these people will not think I'm trying to whine them. So I took my money from the food business. I went to go and buy iPhone. I bought pots. I now showed the pots. I said, see, this is what you're going to win if you join my class. I don't even think I announced that first time. But I think I now told them that whoever makes the most number of recipes will win these things. Come and see students practicing. Let me say, in that class, I taught maybe like 35 or 40 recipes. There were students that had practiced 25. Like they would post the videos, like what they practiced. And I was now getting, they were more engaging. So they were asking more questions. They were practicing more. I could give corrections and things like that. And I'm like, okay, so this is the formula. I just need to incentivize them, and they would ask more questions and they would practice. So the next time I did it, I posted it. And what do you know? More people registered because I don't know. I think there was just, well, I read this in a book called Predictably Irrational. So there's something about the element of free when people feel like they are getting a deal, which means that sometimes if you go to a store and then you saw maybe a jar of Viva soap and there was maybe like a spoon attached to it, or maybe there was like a fan, a rechargeable fan attached to it, and they're like, if you buy this Viva soap, you would get this fan for free. Now, what would happen to most people, to the average man, is even if I didn't want to buy Viva soap, because I'm going to get a free fan attached to it, I would buy it. So it was a study that was done. You would find more people buying the soap. So I think that kind of worked for me as well. So I had now put it out there. And then as time went on, I knew that I knew more recipes. So I had more things to teach. I had more knowledge to give.
Yeah.
And I was impacted. So people would come and I'm like, oh my God, my husband didn't used to eat at home. And since I started your class, like he's always looking forward to, he's always asking me like, oh, what are we making today? So I'm like, okay, that means I need to teach more recipes. So as time went on, I started adding more recipes. I'm like, oh, we went from 40 to 65 to 80 to 100, and then now we're at 164. And I'm like, I think we need to stop now. Maybe we won't do any more now. And, I'm like, the gifts can become bigger as well, because I saw how those gifts helped people to kickstart something. I remember the very first time we gave out ₦1,000,000 in the class. The student that actually won that ₦1,000,000 now creates content. She now teaches people editing. She now creates content for brands. There are quite a number of notable brands that have worked with her. Even now, I sometimes employ her service.
Wow.
So and that's just one to mention. Like there's so many people
others.
like that. There was a lady that had a food business, and at the time we had given out an industrial 4-face burner, and that 4-face burner helped like her business as well. So I'm like, you get the opportunity to teach people what you know, you make money from it, and you're also making a change. So it's almost like I can say with all confidence that I am living like my purpose. Like I'm doing what God wants me to do on this earth. Does it mean that he doesn't have more things for me to do in future? Of course, there are more things for me to do in future. But now that I have been given this opportunity, of course, I'm going to use it. And for me, at the end of the day, it's so important to make sure that I'm teaching them to the best of my ability. So there are no hidden, there's no, I'm not hiding any spice or any recipe or any, So, and that was always I'd say the major selling points for the class is like, you would definitely learn when you join this class. And I guess being Hilda Baci, some people now made videos like, do you know how many people are in the class? And it became a whole thing where it's like, oh my God, so she's making so much money from this class. And then now,
you're making so much money now.
Well, we're trying. We're trying. So, and for me, it was also, I wanted the class to be affordable just so that more people, could learn. Because I just believe that everybody that has the interest in cooking or just has a knack for it should know how to make good food. And that was it for me. And I always say, like, God blesses you when your intentions are good.
Yeah.
So I'd say I had good intentions. And for me, also making the class better is because I did it at such a scale, I became the standard, if I do say so myself. And you know how if you are the standard, so now for me, it's like there is my class and then there are other classes. You can pay for my class because it's a recipe, which means other people have their different recipes. So you can register for my class and learn. I also pay for people's classes. It depends. If I want to learn how to do a certain kind of baking, I would take a course. There's nothing wrong with learning more. It doesn't mean that you have less ability or you're not great at the other things that you're good at. So but for me it was I need to keep making this better because I need to give the best value to the students as possible. So we're even like transitioning. I promise you, if you hear the plans that we have, like for the lessons coming up, is incredible. And I would say it's God, because it's only God that would give you that kind of wisdom.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I just wonder about sustainability plan. I'm sure you have that in place.
Oh
because
yeah, that's actually what I was referring to with what
Okay.
I just said. So I mean, I obviously would not always be able to physically be able to be responsive to the students as time goes on. So what we have done in the last couple of months is we've taken questions from the previous classes that we've had, and we've sort of done a poll where we've taken frequently asked questions for different meals, and then we've curated a document that has like an FAQ, and then it has the answers to those frequently asked questions. So we now have a working document that would keep updating as the classes go on, so that if the class is done, you still have access to that FAQ document, and you can read through the questions and read through the answers, and it just makes it easier for you. We've also curated like a training manual that has all the ingredients, and that's something I'm constantly updating and adjusting and correcting, because printers and yeah, so that's something I'm constantly like adjusting, just whatever it takes to make this easier, because I imagine that it's like cooking for babies. That's where my head is at. So when I start the class, I would tell the students, don't get tired of asking me questions. Ask me as many questions as you want, because I don't want you to walk away from here not knowing something. Now, in terms of success rates, I would say we have about a 95% success rate, because again, I would try my best to reach every single person, but then there are some people that may not, get as much out of it. Maybe they're slow to learning, maybe there are different reasons, so which is why I wouldn't give it 100%.
Yeah.
But I make sure like that I am as responsive to the students as possible.
It's nice to hear. It's nice to hear that it's not just a money making venture. No.
Oh no, it's certainly
something
not
you're passionate about.
Yes.
From the explanations you're giving and all that, hopefully it becomes a big academy one day.
Oh yeah, that's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yes.
So what else should we expect from Hilda?
A lot of things. We have a very big announcement like very soon. Very, very good news actually. So I would say just watch this space. I would say watch this space, but there's so many things in store, more branches here and there. We are trying to cross across the globe. We're trying to take My Food by Hilda to other countries, just so that other people
Can
have
experience
the
it.
experience of what it is to eat My Food by Hilda. So there is that. Obviously, we have bigger plans for the classes as well. We have a lot of plans for Viva. I hope you are using Viva if you're watching this podcast.
You better be using Viva.
Yeah, they're actually the best.
Thank
Viva
you.
Viva is the best. Like, I don't think it's something you have to. At this point, Viva is such a brand that you don't necessarily have to sell it, because it sells itself. It's such good quality product, and I'm so grateful to be representing such a brand, because it just makes my life so much easier, when I wouldn't represent a brand that I don't use. So I remember, I think there was this time where we got this contract, or we were in talks with this brand, and obviously they were offering more money. But it meant that I would have to reintegrate that product into my life, because I was already, using something else that I was very happy with and I was very comfortable with. And I turned it down, because, again, for me, my integrity is like the most important thing.
Of course.
So you couldn't pay me to say I like something I don't like. You couldn't pay me to say, something is good when it is not. I guess also maybe having my own business and being a representative and a brand ambassador, not being the only thing that puts food on my table, makes it easier to hold on to my integrity, because it's like,
No, but if you have integrity, you have integrity no matter what. So
but yeah, my integrity is very important to me. So when I tell you that you should use Viva, take it from me, you should. It's good.
Thank you.
It's great.
So before we go into your advice for upcoming chefs and others that are looking up to you? Do you guys have any questions? You guys are just looking
Do you
at
guys have
us.
any questions for me?
Yes, we do actually.
Okay, tell me.
So, when I heard there was a chef trying to break the record and everything, I'm like, okay, who, I mean, goes 3 days or, I mean, to cook? Then it turns out to be like an Akwa Ibom chef. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, how much has your culture influenced? Because I don't know if you know, there's a thing about Akwa Ibom people know how to
Know
cook,
how to
Yeah.
cook, yeah.
right? So, how much has that influenced? Did that
Oh,
inspire you to?
I think it has influenced me greatly because it influenced my mom, and my mom made sure that we were in the kitchen. So there's a lot of that. I feel like maybe if I wasn't from Akwa Ibom, maybe I don't know if I would have such a knack for cooking, But we're such hospitable people. So I would even say like my culture also like impacts how I treat people, how I host people, how I throw my parties because
You like parties.
I do.
You like it
I
when people
do.
are eating your food.
I like hosting. I just like I like the activity,
Yeah.
of it. But yeah, my culture has definitely has a lot to do with how I was trained and how I am today.
Cool.
Any more
Yes,
questions?
yes, yes. I w- there's a thing Nigerians complain a lot when it comes to food. Like,
Yeah.
how come we wake up every day and we eating the same whole thing? And of course there are different recipes and stuff, but maybe not promoted. How do we solve this?
Register for my class. That's how you should solve it. There are 164 different recipes, both Nigerian and intercontinental, baking, cocktails, mocktails, desserts, So if you want to, just try your hands on different things, you should register for my class. That's the only way.
But
More people should join my class.
is it true that we don't have many food?
Oh, we
Just
do. We actually do. But I think the thing is, what is mostly publicized is a set number of recipes and not a lot of people. So I think the cooking culture, except for chefs, but people that just cook for home
Yeah.
are not the most adventurous when it comes to like trying different recipes because they're like, again, we're going through a time, food is expensive. So am I really willing to spend like 15-20K to buy something just to do an experiment? So there's also that as well. Just understanding that the time that we are in, not a lot of people want to try,
New
different
things.
recipes. They don't want to try new things because they don't want to waste money as well. So there is that. But I would say also the fact that the meals that are mostly publicized. So we just know that there's jollof rice, there's fried rice. When it comes to rice, there is egusi soup, afang soup, amala. So I think maybe what we as the chefs should do, and I think we actually really try with that, is I think every chef has actually done a very good job, and content creator for food has done a good job of putting variety of recipes out there just to get more people to experience and try these things. And then I think there's also like a culture thing where everyone's like, oh, this is what we eat in my place. So when you see something from somebody else's place, you're like, oh my god, what's this? So I think we also need to be a bit more maybe we need to advocate open-mindedness when it comes to trying food, So I'll commend Opeyemi Famakin because, and I think Brian Wana does that as well, where they go to different, states and then they try different meals and then they post about those experiences and about those meals and they give us like a description of what those meals taste like. So I think maybe we need a bit more of that to get people more enthused about trying other recipes.
Yeah. We need to put our Nigeria delicacy out there in the
Yes.
world. Yeah.
okay, that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So the next question, final question. There are lots of people who look up to you. A lot. You see how many people have tried Guinness World Record afterwards. So what's your advice for these guys?
I would say that I don't even know where to start this my advice from, but I always start by saying that your dreams are very valid, and some like just understand that delay is not denial. So while that big thing that you're hoping to achieve is yet to happen, focus on the thing that you have in front of you. So I read this thing in a book where if you're making even 1% progress. It amounts to something over time. 1% progress over 365 days is a lot, right? So don't give up on yourself. And there's something I noticed when I was growing up is I never felt like any position in my life I was down. Like I never looked at a point of my life as me being down, because that's not you being down. That's you're on a journey. God is, like, I would say God was preparing me for where I am today. So God is preparing you. So make the best with whatever opportunity that you have. If you are working for a company, put your best there. At least for the time that you're there, put your best there. Let it not be said that you are not a good person. Let it not be said that you are not a decent human being, because I'm a strong believer in God rewarding you when your intentions are good. So if you know that your intentions are good, you have faith, it's only a matter of time, and you're putting in the work. It is only a matter of time. But I promise you, like, the God that we serve, his love is big enough to reach each and every one of us. And he loves you. It's not even that he doesn't love you. So the fact that that big dream that you have has not metamorphosed just yet doesn't mean that God's love is not still with you.
Great. I want you to talk more also on how do I explain this now? I want you to talk more on, because obviously you look good. You like to look good. You
Yes.
do a bit of lifestyle. It's
Yes.
also evident in your branding, right? The kind of pictures and videos you put out there. Yes. So I want you to talk a bit more on that for the upcoming content creators that are coming up, and how important it is for them to look the part,
Yeah.
even as they are coming up with their
Oh,
so
yeah.
yes, the content is very important. It's even more important because you have to have something upstairs.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're doing, but then presentation is also key.
Yes.
So I want you to just
Yeah,
explain
so
that a bit.
I think that's I'll start by saying this, like, look the way you want to be addressed.
Yeah.
I think we'll start with that. So if you're going for an audition, you're going for an interview, whatever it is, make the effort, make the conscious effort to look good. Now, for content creators, I always say this, like, with people that sell food, like sell products, and people that are trying to be influencers and content creators, what we are, those two sets of people are looking for are different.
Yeah.
Now, while the content creators and the intending influencers are looking for engagements and comments and followers, as a business owner, somebody that is selling a product, what you're looking for is not necessarily engagement, because your customers may not necessarily be engaging. Now, some people allow the fact that people are not engaging on their content to discourage them from creating content. Again, what you're looking for is not the same. Now, I would always advise, like, content creators, you need to try different things. I always say fail and fail fast. So try different things. Like, I am a chef, but I have managed to somehow fuse music, fuse storytelling, fuse fashion into the content that I create, right? And you're never too big to do any kind of work. So far, it helps your bottom line. If it is carrying the firewood to create your set to make it look beautiful, you are not too big for it. You can't do small and say, oh, I'm so tired. No, you cannot be tired. It's hard work. There are days that, the day we shot, when did we leave set? There are days I'm on set almost 24 hours. And it seems like when the content comes out, it seems so glamorous. But in the moment, it's a lot of work. So you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to constantly try your hand on different things. If picture is not working, do video. If video is not working, do audio. Anyone that is, like, you need to just try your hand on different things, and you need to keep improving on your craft. You cannot tell me that you're a content creator and you don't know how to edit. Why? You may not have the money to be able to pay an editor. Before I got to the point where I could hire an entire team, I was my own editor, my own videographer, my own photographer. I was doing everything for and by myself. And I did not think I was suffering. I enjoyed the process of doing it. So whatever phase that you are, enjoy that phase and make the best out of it. And I promise you that God is going to crown your efforts with success.
Amen.
Immeasurable success.
I saw your last video, the one you did this all Igbo stuff.
Yeah. That video was such a
because it's different.
yeah.
So you just wake up one morning and say, okay, what else? What kind of content do I create? You come up with a strategy, and then
and I always say, like, once an idea comes to me, I try my best to execute it. And I think it's also good that I have like a very good team of people. I remember that video. It took us 2 days to shoot it because the first day that we went to LCC. We had spent so much time trying to get the shots. I had dressed up everything.
Yeah.
We had paid the dancers, and then we started losing daylight, so we couldn't shoot again. So all that money, effort, everything wasted. We had to do it again. We were so determined that I'm going to shoot this content. And now the fact that I come up with these ideas doesn't mean that I have a certainty that it is going to do it. I used to pray before I post certain kinds of videos. I will pray. I'm like, God, please help me. So some people just think, you're Hilda Baci, you have 2 million followers, your video is going to go. No, it doesn't work like that. So even I constantly try my hand on different things. But what I try to do is once I have these ideas, sometimes I plan a shoot and I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I'm like, the idea will come to me before we get there.
Yeah.
And once it comes to me, I just execute. So you honestly, you just have to keep trying your hand on different things.
Thank you so much, Hilda. It's been an amazing time having you here. Please, where's her gift? Let's give
I
you
have a gift. Yay, me!
Thank you so much for coming.
Can I open this?
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Do you know that they gave me this perfume the last time when I came to the factory or something? I think when I came to the office.
Yes. This is from Imperial. Yes.
There's one pink fever that you people posted today. I thought that you people will share for us.
I'm going to bring your own, trust me.
Thank you very much. I do really much appreciate. Oh my God. So this is from
Imperial. Yes.
Yes. I love it. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Imperial. I love my gifts. I really appreciate this. If you are my follower and you are watching this, maybe you should check my story. Maybe I will give you some more from this my gifts that they have offered me today. Thank you so much, Linda. I already said this, that your set is so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited today because Linda just dropped a bombshell of a nice surprise on me. Of course not. But it's such a good day for me because I'm so... But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, darling.
Done.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, anytime.
I hope you enjoyed the session.
I did enjoy the session.
Great.
Your team, the energy here is very good. I think
God.
It has like very nice, very vibrant, very positive energy.
Yeah.
And I love the lighting.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know in the comments below what you like most about this episode. And if you have any questions for Hilda, please leave them in the comments. Don't worry, I'll find her and ask her. She'll answer. And make sure you like, comment, and share. So until we meet again, this is all saying bye.
Bye.